Welcome to this NonProfit News Pod. I'm speaking with Kathy Rodriguez Aguirre, President and CEO of an organization that's not only shaping conversation, but also driving measurable impact in our business community, the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. They are the publishers of a report, the State of Hispanic Business Report, that gives a snapshot of how Hispanic-owned businesses are growing, contributing, and shaping our region's economy. Kathy, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. I appreciate it.
So let's start with the big picture. What is the State of Hispanic Business Report, and why does the Chamber produce it?
So we actually started this Hispanic Economic Report back in 2021. There are so many times that people were reaching out to us for data, whether it was about our businesses, entrepreneurship, healthcare, just all these different points that they were trying to get some reference for. And what we realized is there's a lot of data out there, but there wasn't anything that was hyper-local over our 6 counties. Usually people will do Central Valley, which kind of goes up to Stockton area. So it's kind of stops right before it hits us. They'll do the Bay Area, which for some reason also cuts us out, and San Diego and LA. So our data is similar to what you'll see in a lot of those reports, but there was nothing specific. And we realized we needed something for us. And so we went ahead and invested, and it is an investment in the data, and that particular one was Sacramento State. We decided then, once we had a foundation that we could build from, that we would do this report every 2 years. So we released another one in 23, and now what you're holding is the one for 2025. And for us at the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber, it actually drives our work. When we see the report, we can see where we should be putting our efforts, where there's still gaps of opportunity that are to be had, where we're seeing progress, then we should keep going that way because we want to see that elevate even more. So it's become a really useful tool for us as an organization, but it's also a tool we're offering for everyone else, for other nonprofits, for our elected officials, our public policy makers, to be able to say, when you're making your decisions, when you're looking at where to invest, take a look at this report because you're going to find it very interesting and it's really going to help you in determining where those investments should be made.
How does the report actually help a business owner or a policymaker, or broader Sacramento community? How does it help them better understand the economic power and potential of these Hispanic-owned businesses?
Well, when we take a look at it, you'll see that Hispanic-owned businesses have actually increased in percentage here in the region, as well as entrepreneurship overall. So something that's important to realize in that is where other people maybe are still trying to decide, should we move forward? Sign a lease, should we go on with our business? Because let's be honest, right now, everything's a little unsettled economy-wise, administration-wise. But the reality is our Hispanic-owned businesses are deciding, you know what, we're going to go ahead and take that leap. And we're going to make that commitment. And so you're seeing them, fill in maybe what used to be an empty storefront, going from maybe a street vendor now to brick and mortar. We're seeing people go to second locations, increasing, jobs. For the region, when you're looking at investments, if you're looking like, where am I going to get my workforce from? We have all these industries that are coming here and they're needing an educated workforce that's skilled in doing that. Well, if you're looking at where to invest, you might want to look at this demographic because from the data, we can see one, it skews younger. The average age in the Hispanic community is about 28 versus non-Hispanic, which is about 42, which, by the way, for all of us that are not raised, that doesn't mean that we're not still ready to work. Though it does mean when you're looking at where we're going to invest, though, to make sure that we're going to have people that are skilled for years to come, here's a place, to invest in. When you're, again, looking at, areas, revitalization that you're looking at, whether it's our diverse corridors and throughout, the counties that all have them, or the downtown areas, you can see that here's business owners that are willing to make that commitment. And that's going to help you when you're starting to introduce other businesses from outside the area or be able to want to come here. Because the reality is people want to go where there's, vitality and there's things that are happening there. And small businesses overall, whether Hispanic or not, are the ones that actually give a sense of community. So you want to build on top of that.
As you look through these reports, this is your third report. I think the first one came out in 21 and then 23 and now today in 25. What were a few of the most surprising or maybe even encouraging findings from the report?
Well, one, it's great to see after 5 years that there's progress being made. And so some of the ones that really stood out, one was home ownership. Home ownership has actually increased in the Hispanic community since we did this in 2021. The reason that's critical is we know, one, that's the best source of generational wealth. And so if the community is building that, that's going to be helpful for them long term. And also we know that helps stabilize neighborhoods, right? And that's also showing that we have a community that's committed to the region or wanting to be here and build a foundation. we're seeing that the digital divide that we always talk about is actually getting smaller. And so what that means for us that more people are having access to technology and they're utilizing that in their daily basis. And they're also showing across generations how to use it, which is also really critically important in doing that. As I shared before too, we're saying entrepreneurship is also growing. So there's a lot in here that we're like, there's real progress being made, and that's something to celebrate and something to also look at and see what there is going right that we should continue to do or somehow duplicate in other efforts. Someone had asked me in home ownership in particular, like, why did I think that was? And when I look back over those 5 years, I can see where there was a lot of education being done, more workshops about, the importance of home ownership, how to, take the pathway to home ownership. There's a lot more incentives too for first-time buyers with opportunities there for access to capital to help them make that down payment. So you find if you make these resources available, people are going to take advantage of them. And in the long term, it's good for the entire region.
There's nothing more encouraging or rewarding, I should say, than having progress made as a result of effort done. And to see that outreach and education and understanding in home ownership, because it's not the most efficient from a standpoint of interest rates at this point in time, but they understood it, that audience understood.
Yeah, it's completely true. So that was like one of the ones that was really a highlight, for us to be able to see.
We know that progress comes with challenges. What does the report indicate to the chamber as to how you can help overcome some of the challenges that you saw in the report? What were some of those things that you said, Moy, we need to do a little bit better job here?
There's always those points of access is what I talked to. And so when we use that as an example of what went well, I should also say there was a lot that was done in language. So when we look at some of the other opportunities that are there, we're looking at, could that have been better if there was more done, in Spanish too, giving that opportunity to see both languages there. When we look at education, there's parts where the gap is getting smaller, but there's still so much more room for improvement, especially in the industries that people are choosing. So we know that the industries of tomorrow, are more in the STEM fields, right? Technology. We're looking at certification programs. There's different ways that people are going to work than the way you and I work, right? Jeff, there's still jobs out there that we don't even know what they are, but they're coming. And so what we're looking at is how do we better prepare our generations that are coming for those opportunities? And those start really early, developing those pathways, showing what those jobs are, giving those opportunities to visit, the industries. We can do a better job of that, of making sure people understand there is more for you to be able to do than the ones that we see always, which are great professions, and becoming a doctor, becoming a police officer, a nurse. So they're the ones that people are familiar with because we see them on TV and set. But and with each of those industries, there's so many more opportunities, and we just need to be better about carrying people through those pathways and showing them those opportunities. And the end result is like, here's a good life that you can have that's also going to be good for your future generations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these things don't happen in a vacuum. You have collaborators that you worked with. Yes. Who were the people that were instrumental in helping get this report out?
Oh my gosh. So we want to really thank SACOG. SACOG has been an incredible partner. That's a Sacramento area county of governments, right? So they actually...
Council of Governments, I think, right?
Council of Governments. Acronyms always get to me, but
thank you for clarifying.
Thank you for that. So SACOG, but they've been an incredible partner for us and obviously represent the 6 county regions. So they were really helpful in helping us gather this data and helping to read it and be able to put it in a way that could be understandable that people are reaching out there. Greater Sacramento Economic Council, they have a far reach into what's happening as industries are coming in, what businesses are looking for. They really helped us get the data that we've really been looking for, which is this entrepreneurship and Hispanic-owned businesses to be able to include in the report. And honestly, when you look at putting it into a whole readable format that makes sense, threefold communications, we could not have done it without them because the data is a data and it's really important to us and we're all geeking out over it and going through it, but we want everyone to take a dive into it. And we realize the graphics and the way you put it all together and tell the story is equally important. So there was a lot of effort put into this along with my team that I have internally that has been doing an incredible job and just gathering this all out and figuring out how to continue talking about it. And that's why I appreciate being here today, Jeff, because part of this is not to just create something that stays on someone's desk or shelf, but to continue the conversation and to let people know the narrative of the Hispanic economic engine that is here is much greater than people realize.
Did Valley Vision have a hand in this as well?
Yes, they did. Valley Vision came in. They had their Livability Summit, which just happened a couple of weeks ago. And so we were overlapping a bit. And Evan Schmidt, their CEO, was very kind because we reached out to her and said, is there anything that you have in your poll that might be beneficial to include in the report that also allows people to realize the cross promotion, what was happening in the Livability Summit. So that was really great to have too. So there is information the Valley Vision has provided in there. We also hope that after our event that people went to the Livability Summit that was happening a couple of weeks later to further have dialogue about all the topics we had covered.
And we had the benefit of sitting at a tailgate party for a Sac State football game. And one of the Sac State students comes up and mentions, this is just about done. We're working on something that is in collaboration also with the Hispanic report. Share what that is, because I think it's pretty interesting.
It is a pretty interesting work. So over there at Sacramento State, they have their Hispanic Serving Institute. And Lilia Contreras is their Hispanic Serving Institute director, first one at Sacramento State. And so her and our team and the executives that are over there have been working on, I want to get it right, they're calling it Somos, which is Spanish for us. And it is a map. It's that where students are able to come to it and figure out where they can go, whether it's for businesses, I think for entertainment, civic amenities, all of that. And it's a way of having people realize that they belong here in Sacramento. There's places that they can go to that may seem familiar to them or maybe unfamiliar to them, but they'll be of interest to go to it. And so they're also going to take parts of our report and incorporate that into this mapping system that they're putting together. So it's a pretty cool thing. And I know you're going to see a little bit more coming out from Sacramento State and the group that's putting this together. But again, it's another tool to let people know how vibrant this region is and what the opportunities are out here.
Well, and how excited people are to participate and get involved. I love the fact that you've got the students doing something. It's kind of a Hispanic heat map.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I'm anxious to see it myself. By now, I think the audience is going, this is really cool. Where do I get this thing, this report? It seems like something I should have. I should at least be aware of it. How does one find it? And what does it cost? Is it a free service? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, actually, you can find the report on our website. If you go to sachcc.org/report, it'll take you to the page. You'll see a little bit more introductory information about the report. Some highlights will be there. And then if you scroll to the end, there'll be a part that will ask you for a little bit of information about you, and you'll be able to download the report. And before the month ends, we'll have it in Spanish too.
Okay, wonderful. And I'll put that into the notes of this episode, this news pod. So if anybody wants, they can just go and grab the link out of there.
They can grab it right there. And we want people to download it, to read it, to utilize it. Like I said, it is meant to be more than a report. It's a tool for you to use.
Well, that's the State of Hispanic Business Report. It's a roadmap for growth and inclusion in our region. You need to know the state of the state when it comes to doing business in a community that's at least 23% Hispanic, depending on where you are geographically, likely greater where you live. You don't want to miss the opportunity to engage this market, and that means you need to know more about what's happening with them as well. So get your own report by visiting the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce website, sachcc.org. Share it with your teams, your boards, your partners. Kathy, thank you for joining me. Thank you for doing the report for the community. What a wonderful asset it is to have the organization, to have the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce produce this for the benefit of all of us.
Great. Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about it and share it. And thank you to all the listeners today. And I hope we get a lot of downloads on it.
Agreed. Well, thanks for listening to this Nonprofit News Pod, and be sure to subscribe to the Nonprofit Podcast Network so you never miss an episode. Simply visit nonprofpod.com. Thank you.